on. I'm having some problems. This is day 1592, and let's see if. Oh, it is working okay. I am seeing everybody now. And I hope that the title is right. 1,592 days since Richard was premeditatedly murdered on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And this, was a direct result of border security breaches, border security negligence. And I would say that is under Veronica Escobar, Representative Veronica Escobar. It is her duty. She has an obligation to address the border breaches, and Richard's murder absolutely has to do with the criminal group that were involved in the border crimes. And the only way that these border crimes and also the breaches of security on Fort Bliss is because of the negligence and the failure of leadership by the likes of the military chain of command and Representative Veronica Escobar and others that mainly that I would say Joe Spencer too. Lots of the judicial system, the law enforcement system that were negligent and absolutely were complicit in the breaches in the border security that created this criminal trafficking, this border crisis, which is a national threat, right? Security threat, especially when it threatens the security of Fort Bliss, which is in this case it did. And then of course this is how soldiers die, like our son. This kind of criminal activity, and he's pointing out the security breaches, the trafficking, the children, and it is really we're tying together Lilani Hart with CYS and Ogle and these breaches in security when it comes to these hundreds of thousands of children. And it's just shocking. It's just shocking, y'all. And so, of course, Richard, with that said, and Richard is, reporting to Child Protective Services and the IG and FBI Houston, which is Child Trafficking Division, and Washington, D.C., and CID. And Lilani Hart is the mother of Richard's platoon leader and also an intimate relationship with her family member, CID, Fort Bliss CID agent Tavita Nusa. Can you imagine at the time her connection with all of that? And she is a prime suspect in the murder of our son. It all fits together very, very clear. And it all points to these security breaches in the border, the security breaches on Fort Bliss. And, once you realize that Joe Spencer and all of course, the Walmart mass shooting was a cover up of these reports that Richard was making, because in 2019, they didn't just dismiss his reports because President Trump was in office. They were investigating. And we received confirmation that they were investigating because there were audit because the general told us to our face. And then when we told that to Marlon Soto, the head of the CID office there in Fort Bliss at the time, you know, he told us that it was all of Fort Bliss that was being investigated. And so, you know, the Walmart mass shooting, uh, bloody, terrible, and the victims of that shooting have absolutely been disrespected and used as a human shield for the criminal activity that the open borders have created that are just so huge now because of hundreds of thousands of human trafficking, the children trafficking, the unaccompanied children. That's just the unaccompanied children that we know of, hundreds of thousands that are mostly dead now, that went through Fort Bliss. So the breaches of security are huge, are really, and terrible, terrible things were happening. And the Walmart mass shooting, Richard's Truth is under the Walmart mass shooting. And the victims will, when all of that breaks, the victims will finally get justice because um, Joe Spencer, in his very I put a faux um, agenda, but it's really criminal routine. I'm doing everything from memory. His criminal routine, I use so many different words. Um, he's, just a criminal routine that was fake, right? Was a bunch of lies. He is, you know, um, just a big fat liar. And he covered up the crimes that were caused by the breaches of security at the border um, with his fake and false narrative, which I think is really dangerous because his false narrative was hate crimes, was racism, hate crimes, right? Was this white supremacy kind of thing. And, to use something that serious falsely, right? Um, I think he is just not fit to practice law. He is not fit to practice law. It's like you're going to use a fake rape or something like that to cover up, um, another crime, and you do it so often that it's like calling wolf, right? Crying wolf, and then people just dismiss it when it really does happen, when a hate crime would really happen. But in this case, it didn't happen. He was using it as a false narrative, and I think it's criminal, absolutely criminal what he has done instead of addressing. And there's others that didn't call him out that allowed him to do this, like Representative Veronica Escobar and like the generals. The generals did not have Richard's back. They Representative Veronica Escobar, who is also supposed to have Richard's back, he is her constituent, right? Just like Richard was the soldier for his commander. And they have an obligation to care for their soldiers, and they have an obligation to meet the rights of their constituents. And so, it was all together. They are absolutely complicit because we are, way over 4 years here. And, y- you know, by their fruit you shall know them. By their fruit you shall know them. and they are absolutely criminal. Those that were obligated to care for Richard and meet his rights, his civil rights, they were absolutely complicit in the border crimes, and looked the other way when the border was breached, and security was breached. Then they looked the other way, or they worked for the cover up of it. And this new article that just came out about attacking Bill Hicks again, Joe Spencer is attacking Bill Hicks, like in their little dog and pony show, their little scene that they're doing. What a scene it is. It is fake. It is so fake about Bill Hicks breaking the gag order. It's so fake because Joe Spencer has already done it himself, and so has Sam Medrano, and so has Felix Valenzuela broken the gag order. It's this is just a way to deflect from Richard's name. They will do whatever they can to avoid saying Team Farm Richard Halliday or Richard Halliday or Richard Halliday's family or the Halliday clan or however you want to say it. They cannot say Richard Halliday because Richard Halliday is on fire. He is on fire. And the fire of God purifies the evil. Um, the so they who are they? I would say Joe Spencer's group, criminal group. They want to avoid meeting the fire. Remember the witch of, now they're doing this new Wizard of Oz, and the witch, you poured water over and she would melt. Well, when it comes to Richard, I think it's like facing the furnace. Facing the furnace, it would take that much to purify this evil that they have done, and whatever comes out of we know that the evil, the brutality that they used on Richard, but when this all comes out, it is so big, y'all, that they would too look at the lengths that they go to keep from saying Richard Halliday, the lengths that they go from breaking the story of the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, breaking the story of that we have the audios of Joe Spencer, um, uh, the breaking the story that we did a hostile takeover. I shouldn't say it like that. It's kind of fun to say it like that. I don't know why. It's this Fit Femme El Paso is up to no good, and to be able to purchase their LLC was a huge pleasure for us because Epic is behind it, El Paso Intelligence Community, and others, but El Paso Intelligence Community that are supposed to be protecting Americans and the community, and yet they're up to no good with their narratives and everything. So to be able to take over that LLC and the brand names was I don't know the right word, satisfying to do that. Absolutely. It was a small victory in this huge battle that they've put us through. Of course, they've got the best of us because they murdered Richard, right? They brutally murdered Richard, and they still have his remains. Um, so we are absolutely aware of that, and that's why we come on every day, and that we ask everyone to please share, to help us in our efforts to get our son's remains back. That is the sole purpose of this, is to get our son's remains back, because whatever happened to him will be absolutely declared in his remains. They are the key pieces of evidence. We already received the official declaration of death, but they refused to give us back our son's remains. And we have a suspicion that the chain of command that would include Bradford Bugado of the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, right? He's in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, would have, and this includes others with the funeral homes and that would have to remove Richard's remains. And, of course, um, some remains being crossing the border into Mexico. And this is really shocking coming from the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM. But when you know that Bradford Bugado's father-in-law is part of these cross-border operations, international operations, and right there in El Paso, and also, posed as an FBI and said Richard's remains were found in Mexico, and the FBI was in Mexico looking for him, and the Department of State then we called the Department of State, and they corroborated that information that Nadal Baim on CCTV footage, caught on CCTV footage that we have, um, that he said happened, and that it was supposed to be a secret because he goes like this, shh, right? So yes, it does. It is possible that that happened. And, so more and more evidence, and we have evidence with others, that they absolutely have Richard's remains. And, so we ask for you to share these live streams so we can get our son's remains back. And it would also, to do that, it would just, we would get full accountability, right? And um, full accountability, which is absolutely required at this point because of what they have done through these border security breaches. And we're talking a lot about that right now because we have institutional support that are gathering all the information, and they've already had it. The people that are coming back into office, like Kash Patel, hopefully he's been nominated. Hopefully he'll be approved. And President Trump has, uh, you know, received the mandate, he won by a landslide on every front. And so he absolutely should get who he wants in his appointments. And, so when we heard it was Kash Patel, we were very hopeful because Kash Patel was there in 2019. Kash Patel was with Devin Nunes there in 2019. Kash Patel is intelligence. Kash Patel absolutely knows Richard's story, absolutely knows it from the reports that Richard made. Okay. When Richard was talking to Washington, D.C., I'm wondering if he was talking to Kash Patel. I'm wondering who he was talking to in Washington, D.C. So, those things are really, really positive um, developments in this. And the language that we're hearing, that we're getting back, is about border security breaches, and the crimes that were committed with the border security breaches. Now, if they want us to talk about the weaponization of the Department of Justice, of the intelligence community, the intelligence agencies. They're, amongst this small criminal group. Um, and for the most part, it is small. And there was a lot of false reporting going on. Okay. And so we're hearing that a lot of that is from Bradford Bugado. A lot of that is from Jonathan Ambrose. A lot of that is from the intelligence community. They're, false reporting, falsifying the truth, and creating a narrative that was false, that they used to cover up the murder, the huge murder of Richard. And it's so big, and of course, with Joe Spencer refusing to mention Richard's name, and Bill Hicks refusing to mention Richard's name, and the media refusing to mention Richard's name right now. They have to really control it, right? Um, it tells you that there is a lot of support going on, institutional support. They are under a lot of pressure, and they are protecting themselves from the crimes that they have committed, that have been exposed in the murder case of our son. Put this on here. It's a little bit chilly. Um, so thank you, Danielle, for coming on. And this article that came out again today of this, you know, Joe Spencer, calling out Bill Hicks for breaking the gag order, is just like really the pot killing the kettle black, spewing from their spleen. Look that up. That's pretty good. I learned that from Martin Luther. Martin Luther used it in his debate, spewing from your spleen, and that so uh, it's just one of those little sayings that I thought were just uh, had a lot of. Once you know what it means, it paints a picture um, while you're reading it in your mind, and that's exactly what these criminal characters do. They spew from their spleen. And yeah, so I put up some posts, and we are absolutely working. We just sent off so much information again today to the media. I think I'll post it. I'll probably do that tomorrow, but um, this is a, a huge battle. Uh, how do you like that, the pardoning of Hunter Biden? How do you like that? How do you like that? Um, I'm wondering if they're going to pardon WikiLeaks founder, right? Assange. I'm wondering, it the it's so obvious. And if you are a Biden supporter and you have a loved one that was arrested on their, uh, you know, because they do these contracts. I mean, there's a lot. I have my own thoughts about jails and everything. Um, but yeah, this pardon, I think, is going to be very, very good for Richard's case, because it is so obvious that there is huge corruption. And in order to get the people to, to understand, when the case is so big that the media doesn't even want to mention Richard's name, when we have exposed a usurper and a whole panel of individuals that are posing as judges, botching thousands of cases. Um, and a illegal as a medical examiner in El Paso that was involved in the Walmart mass shooting case, and we exposed Joe Spencer with audios and with audios of his own voice, um of his lying and his lying to the federal court. That's really big too, because um we'll see what the federal court does with that. But it is amazing that they don't want Richard's case story to be out there, Richard's name to be out there, um, because this criminal trafficking is a huge, huge amount of money. And, it's kind of like a drug addict, right? They're so used to all that money, and they know it's wrong. They know it's wrong. They know they need to quit. They know it. They know they're hurting people, and yet they are just in that grip. So in order to loosen up those fingers around this breaching of the border in order to do criminal trafficking, um, yeah, it's going to be like, you know, one finger at a time, right? To loosen up the grip that they have. Um, and we hope that the new administration coming in, um, will be able to keep from compromising themselves. The money is so big, y'all. So, we absolutely need to share this, and the way we get them to do it, is by driving them to do their duty. We have to drive them to do their duty. All eyes need to be on them, and any kind of reporting, that any kind of incident that you had, and of course we're reporting constantly like we did today, they need to be driven driven to do the right thing. So let me see what Danielle, watch the movie 13th of on Netflix. Okay. It definitely shows where a lot of the corruption started amongst the jails and prisons, in my opinion. Oh, yeah. And they keep on wanting to make these criminals so they can build more and more prisons and bigger prisons, because these contracts are so lucrative for the prisons, and then all the business surrounding the prisons, right? The restaurants and the hotels and this and that. Um, yeah, it's just that's also big business, right? I have my own thoughts on that. And here you have Patrick Crucius supposed to be spending 9,000 years at the Alcatraz of the Rockies. So I'll look the 13th. Okay. I will absolutely look for that. Um thank you so much, because to understand these contracts, these military contracts, these contracts with the ISDs, that is huge. These contracts with the prisons, and then all of the open border security issues. It is, and how they all connect, and it's kind of like we have a caste system. It's these, because there's a lot of nepotism, and who is controlling this kind of criminal activity. It is all coming out, and we're focusing on Joe Spencer right now because Joe Spencer has done so much harm in El Paso. And we have the audios, and our information is that he was a big part of the cover up of Richard's and the retaliation in Richard's case. And so he's just not fit at all, even. He's just not even fit at all to practice law. And of course, Veronica Escobar, that's all coming together. Um, she's in real trouble. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. Please do not feel sorry for her. She is just been up to no good for a long time, and it's really bad, y'all. It's very bad. So, she is absolutely a woman of a stone heart, let me tell you. And so that's coming into view. And then, of course, this whole new administration with Patel, um, that is really big. And, we need to drive them to accept all of Trump's nominations, since he did the major work, the amazing major work to get reelected. It's very difficult to get reelected. Um, Very difficult. So, and for that kind of victory, he absolutely should have the cabinet that he wants. He has a mandate from the people of this country, and that's what they want. And that is with media not covering him very well at all, really giving him a lot of negative, mostly negative coverage. And yet he had this overwhelming um, victory. Can you imagine if the narrative would have been a little bit more neutral? His victory would have been uh, absolutely jaw dropping. So, and then of course, Mr. Ratcliffe for the CIA, that matters a lot to us also. And he also may have already known and worked with Richard back in 2019. Um, so this is really promising. And I just want to say thank you to everybody, and please share all of these live streams, and we will be back tomorrow with more information. Thank you